You know that feeling, right? A few gray, cloudy days roll in and suddenly all your energy just vanishes? Well, it turns out that's not just in your head. There's some really cool science behind why a gloomy sky can make you feel so completely drained. So, what is actually going on? Why can a simple change in the weather have such a huge impact on our mood and motivation? It's a question we've all probably asked ourselves, and the answer is buried deep inside our own biology.
And this feeling is so common. I mean, this comment from a Reddit user just nails it, doesn't it? That physical heaviness, that fatigue you can't quite explain. So if you've ever felt this way, trust me, you are not alone. It's a real physical response. Okay, to start to understand this, we have to look at what's happening with our brain chemistry. The best way to picture it is like a chemical seesaw, one that's constantly being tilted by whether or not there's sunlight.
So, here are the two main characters in this story. On one side of the seesaw, you have serotonin. It gets triggered by sunlight, and it's your feel-good, focus hormone. On the other side, you have melatonin, triggered by darkness, which, as you know, makes you sleepy. They're basically opposites.
So here's the crucial part. On a cloudy day, your brain doesn't get that bright, strong signal of light. It gets a weak one, and that basically tricks your brain into thinking, must be getting dark out. The result? It starts to turn down the serotonin tap and turn up the melatonin tap, leaving you feeling sluggish and ready for a nap in the middle of the afternoon. But what's controlling this whole hormonal seesaw? I mean, what's the puppet master pulling the strings? Well, it turns out our bodies have this incredibly smart internal timing system, a master clock that keeps everything running on schedule. And that system is called the circadian rhythm. It's basically your body's 24-hour internal clock. It governs when you feel awake and when you feel tired, and the number one thing it uses to stay in sync with the actual day is light. So how does this work every day? Well, think of morning sun as hitting a giant reset button. Light streams into your eyes, hits some special cells in your retina, and those cells shoot a powerful signal straight to your brain's master clock. It's basically a message that says, "All right, a new day is starting, let's go!"
Now, this master clock has a pretty wild name, the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or just SCN for short. It's this tiny little spot in your brain that acts like a command center, telling your body when to release those hormones, serotonin and melatonin. But on a gloomy day, that signal is weak and fuzzy, and it kind of confuses the whole system.
But it's not just about hormones and brain signals. A lack of sun takes a real physical toll on us, and a big part of that is a deficiency in a vitamin that's really hard to get enough of from food alone. Yep, I'm talking about vitamin D. Our skin has this amazing ability to make it just from being exposed to sunlight. And here's the kicker. Vitamin D is also critical for producing serotonin. So, on a cloudy day, you get hit with a double whammy. Less light to directly trigger serotonin and less vitamin D to even help make it. The problem with low vitamin D is that the symptoms are often really vague and easy to just brush off. Take a look at these. Do any of them sound familiar? That persistent fatigue? That feeling of body heaviness we saw in the Reddit post? These are all classic, but often missed, signs that the gray weather is hitting you on a physical level.
Now, for some of us, this seasonal slump is way more than just feeling a little tired. When these symptoms get severe and they come back like clockwork every single year, it can actually be a recognized clinical condition.
And this is known as seasonal affective disorder, or SAD. It's a type of depression that follows a seasonal pattern. The theory is that the lack of sunlight really messes with that master clock in our brain, throwing the production of melatonin and serotonin completely out of whack.
And it's way more common than you'd probably guess. A study out of Sweden, a place that knows a thing or two about long, dark winters, found that about 1 in 5 people report these kinds of seasonal symptoms. That's a huge number of people feeling the effects of the changing light.
So the key symptoms of SAD are more intense than just the winter blues. We're talking about a persistent low mood that just won't lift, losing interest in stuff you normally love, feeling overwhelmingly tired, and often a really strong craving for carbs, which can lead to gaining weight. Okay, so after all of that, the big question is, what can we actually do about it? Well, the good news is we are not powerless here. There are some real, science-backed things you can do to fight back against the gloom. Here is a simple 4-step action plan. First, make it a priority to get whatever natural sunlight you can, especially in the morning, to hit that reset button. Second, if sunlight is hard to come by, you could look into light therapy boxes that mimic the sun. Third,
Boost your vitamin D with your diet. Think fatty fish and eggs. And finally, stay active. Exercise is a fantastic mood booster all by itself. And you don't need to spend hours and hours outside to make a difference. Seriously, getting as little as 5 to 15 minutes of sun directly on your skin without sunscreen a few times a week is often enough to get that vitamin D production going and to start feeling better.
So, when you boil it all down, it comes to this. Our biology is ancient. It's hardwired for the sun and the seasons. But we live these modern lives, mostly indoors, cut off from those light signals our bodies are crying out for. And that really leaves us with a big question to think about. How can we find ways to honor that ancient rhythm in our modern world?